And welcome back. Continuing to work on the right aileron. In the previous video, talked about putting together the smaller portions here, trying to make sure that I'm looking at the parts correctly. And again, working on the instructions, I'm doing the right side first, only because that happened to be the spar that I had up on the rack last when I started working on all these parts. Looking back, I kind of wish I would have just started on the left first. Going through the instructions, there's a lot of looking at the instructions and looking at the parts and how they're drawn in the instructions, and then trying to make sure I'm actually using the right piece, you know, looking at the parts and putting them in reverse and things like that. And there's been several times where I start working on a part and realize that I've actually installed the part that would have gone on the left side and put it in the right side. So hindsight being 2020, I should have started on the left side, but such is life, and we'll just keep going. So here I'm working on the these are the end ribs for the aileron on the outer ribs for each side there. And there's a lot of small tasks, little things to do with each one. And I think I'd mentioned in a previous video that as you're, again, working with left versus right, you really want to make sure that you are using the right component and that you're countersinking correctly. In fact, the instructions have, point out several times, especially when you're working on the plates there, make sure that you're countersinking the correct side and that you're making it for the right part. So going through, the majority of this video is going to be working on the nose portion, or the forward portion of the spar for the aileron. There's a steel counterweight that rests between those two nose ribs that you see there. They're the nose ribs that have kind of a piece taken out of them, kind of look like a Pac-Man look. The steel bar will rest in between those ribs there, those nose ribs, and then you bolt them in place. The rest of it is using the skins to hold everything together, and then match drilling several holes for the counterweight, where some pop rivets will hold the skin against the counterweight. The whole aileron is not terribly difficult. The hardest part that I came across is that the steel counterweights. I made the mistake of trying to drill the holes using the skin as a guide, match drilling essentially. And obviously, with the steel being a much tougher, a harder metal than aluminum, the drill bits tended to wander, and I ended up enlarging some of the holes for the rivets where they would go through. Fortunately, I was using number 40 drill bits, and the pop rivets that go through are significantly larger, so I ended up having to enlarge the holes anyway. But basically what you want to end up doing is you assemble everything together, and I'll talk to it here in a little bit, but you assemble everything and then just mark it and then put it under the drill press and drill the holes with the drill press. A whole lot easier. So again, just looking through the instructions, and because I am working the mirror side, just looking sure and making sure that I have the right parts and that they're lined up correctly for what I think I'm doing. And then some other news. Recently had a chance to get together with several builders in the Phoenix area. Had a group meeting of a new Phoenix-based Vans builders gathering, so to say, and was able to meet several folks that are either in the middle of building an RV or have built an RV, all various different models. I believe there's a couple folks that had a 6, there was a 9, I think, and then a couple of folks that are building a 14. So it was neat to get together with some of the other people that are in a process and be able to kind of network and find people to bounce questions and ideas against. So that's nice to have gotten, come across that, and looking forward to future meetings. Right now, looks like we're going to be getting together pretty much every other week, or I'm sorry, every other month at this point, and just meeting up at someone's house or someone's hangar and kind of getting a hands-on experience with what they're doing in their build process, and kind of get an idea of where different people are in their build. I believe the next one we're doing is right at the beginning of November. One of the local EEA chapter presidents is building, I believe it was a 7, if I recall correctly, and he's at the point where he is working on the firewall forward section, if I recall correctly. So it'll be nice to kind of see some of the advanced stages of a build. So here, like I talked about earlier, the process has you put everything back together, Cleco everything in place, and then match the locations of the holes for the nose of the aileron with that counterweight. As you can see, some of these are a bit of a struggle to get into place. The skin was really, really tight, and so it took some effort on some of these Clecos. But once you get everything in place, the skin wraps around pretty well. And like I said, the nose of that has several points where you want to mark that counterweight with. And as I discussed earlier, you want to make sure that you actually just mark it either with a permanent marker or some kind of punch or something, just to mark the metal, and then put the metal under a drill press and drill the holes that way. So much easier. I got about halfway through and then realized what I was doing, and ended up going to the drill press, and it was just so much faster and so much easier. Like I said, fortunately, I was only using number 40 drill bits, and you end up drilling, I want to say it's a number 19 hole for the pop rivet. So even though I was enlarging the holes, I needed to enlarge them anyway, so it worked okay in my favor. But just going forward makes it a lot easier if you do it with the drill press. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let this video run out here. My next video will hopefully have the finish of this aileron. We'll see where that gets to. So again, thanks for watching. If you get a chance, hit that like button for me. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell, and you'll get notifications every time I put one of these out. We'll see you guys next time.